welcome back to the Dossier Project. Please like, comment, and share if you like our content. So today's topic we're going to talk about is something that's very a current topic. It's a very controversial, very heated topic with a lot of conflict. And we are going to be talking about the Israel and Hamas and Gaza situation.
We recognize like how complex it is. It goes back, decades, and even right now, the current conflict, it seems to be more of a Hamas Israel conflict, but of course there's aspects of Palestine that are involved, and we by no means are experts on any of this or really have delved into the history and the politics. I know there's a lot there, but just process wise, we wanted to talk about this because we just see how there's a very black and white way of looking at it. And by most people, they make a very strong statement about how they feel about it without understanding the political, the historical, the economical, the complexity of this. So we recognize this whole situation is super complex.
What I'm experiencing with this situation is that like most people, it's very complex. And I think most people don't really understand what is going on, how we got there. Maybe some do. A lot of people are just kind of educating themselves about it. And to me, it's like, at the end of the day, and I think we can all agree, the fact that so many lives are being lost is just, it's tragic. And I feel like it could be really powerful to comment, really on how are people handling the conflict? Like, what is going on? What is it like for complete outsiders to be experiencing, this conflict or to be aware of this conflict overseas? Because what I see is like there's a lot of people over here, especially in the US or, in the Western world, who have a lot to say about it. And there's more division about people's opinions versus what's actually going on. And I feel like that's really relevant to this country, and how people are processing it more than like what's actually going on over there. Because, I agree, like we're not experts, but I think we are really, think we have a really great lens at seeing how are people like creating conflict around something that they don't even really fully understand.
And I wanted to just say this, we're not none of us are personally involved in this situation, but we think it's very important to talk about it. And so we can start off even by just saying why we choose to talk about this topic.
It's definitely a very painful situation. Like every time that I see this type of devastation, and it's almost like a self-created devastation, not Mother Nature, or it's just like it's us, right? It's as humans, we are doing this. My love or my passion is education, and particularly with children. And I like just to bring these topics kind of like to the more simple way on how do you explain this to a 5-year-old, like, or to a 7-year-old, what's happening. And for me, it's really, it's about how do we understand each other. And so in the playground, when you have someone who's acting a certain way, and they might be hurting other people, and you want to contain that, but at the same time you want to be able to see what's going on for that person. Like there's clearly something happening where this, I'm just talking about playground, where this child feels like the need to do that, or they don't even have the need. Maybe that's the only choice that they feel they have. So I remember, you know, I don't know, I was fairly young when I started recognizing and thinking, and I think this is one of the most beautiful things I think that my parents have left me with, is like, if you know someone deep, you will love them. There's no way that you can actually get to know someone deeply and just don't feel, you may not agree with their actions, you may not agree with what they're doing, but you will love them. So I think that, you know, for me, this topic is very, like very emotional, very touching in a way, because I do believe that exactly these two sides that we've you know created in a way, and I think in some ways it's easier, but if we get to know each other deeply, you know, what's going on one side and what's going on for the other side, I think that's a way to humanize all of us, and that could definitely be a way to solve conflict, more than what we're trying to do with, you know, violence and the things that we've chosen as humans so far.
This ongoing process amongst humans where, you know, there's a need to create a hero and a villain in any situation. And, you know, you can find this process privately amongst people in their relationships, you know, in workspaces, wherever it is. And I think the Israel-Palestine conflict is really that process blown up, you know, really blown up to a really big level where it's no longer about two individuals and what they think and, you know, the right, wrong between them, but it now spreads to, you know, countries and religion, but it's also something that a lot of the world people that aren't involved have also taken a very strong stance. So people that aren't personally affected by it have taken a very strong stance on who's right and who's wrong, you know, and it seems very black and white. And there's, for me, there, like I see there's a lack of process happening of an evaluation of the human, you know, and I very much try to look at the human aspect. So in any conflict, regardless of what it is, I don't see there being a hero and a villain, a goodie and a baddie. It's not about anti and pro. It's about there's two humans, and no matter what, if you understand their perspective and understand their life and understand where they're coming from, both sides are completely right where they're coming from and are completely understandable. And to me, that process is something that brings humans closer rather than trying to separate them, you know. And I think right now our world seems very binary, so it's very polarized, you know. People seem very anti or pro on many topics, and it's dividing us as humans rather than bringing us together and recognizing that we all have struggles, we all have wants, we all have needs, we all have fears and those things. And
we're not very good as human beings at evaluating destruction unbiasedly and objectively. It's emotional. You know, we have our own biases. I mean, we have biases about skin color and looks. If somebody is more attractive than another, we tend to treat them better than the person who's not as attractive. I mean, we have biases all over the place just because we're human. It becomes very difficult to objectively evaluate what is the destruction that was done, who caused it, how do we fix it without punishing each other, without hating each other, without creating prejudices or this icky loss of humanity, you know, making someone evil, making someone bad, making, you know, doing this other objectification to the other side. We're prone to these biases and this objectification, but we lose, I think what we don't see is that we do destroy a part of our humanity when we do that. And we lose the objectivity to be able to create justice in an ethical way where it can be unbiased and objective. And there's no, you know, prejudices, biases, hates. In a war like this, there's a lot on the line, a lot of lives on the line. And I think it's really important that we bring awareness to that very human tendency so that we can correct for it.
That just makes me think of like, okay, how does this relate to how do I deal with conflict in my life, you know? And I'll be honest, most of the time it's either anger, and seeking to punish, or cutting them out of my life. That's kind of, at least pretty much my experience growing up. That's pretty much what I've seen. If I'll be open, honest, I disagree with Mama Chung on a bunch of different things. It's been pretty much those two responses. That's pretty much what I've known, and I see that there's maybe, different ways, like, other options where we don't need to respond in the same way. Think about wars. We have a history of wars. The violence is definitely, one very common way. Might is right, and it's based on, I think, probably, if you look back at any war, I'm sure every side has thought they were right and justified, and I think that's what's the problem is, like, being right doesn't necessarily justify any behavior. And I think this situation, where if you just look at and separate being right, I think it's like everyone, like what you were saying, Andy, everyone's right down to their own life experiences. If we've walked in their shoes and we've had their experience and so forth, everyone thinks they're right. Like, people don't do things because they think they're wrong. Everyone thinks they're right, and they are right based down to their assumption experiences. So, but it's how we respond to that situation, and just, if you just evaluate, like, at the end of the day, if we all say are right in the same situation, we just have different perspectives and opinions and so forth, and that can just be true, versus then just evaluate how do you respond to it. And if you evaluate just the actions themselves, does that justify killing another person? Like, literally, is anything that you're 100% right on, whatever, even if it's a fact, even if it's true, like gravity, does, just because you're right, does that make it okay to justify and do anything? And I think in this situation, we've also lost the ability to kind of separate those two. It's never black and white. There's all these distinctions. Even, it's like, you simplify it in this headline world, clickbait world, it's like Israel, Palestine, Jewish, Muslim, Gaza or Jerusalem, and it's like, it's not like categorically, just one side or the other, so I think, I just think, like, in the situation where, and it seems like we're just doing an eye for an eye, or kind of like, what do they say, an eye for an eye leaves the world blind, or everyone blind, and that's what it feels like in this situation. It's just a no-win situation, killing people and just bigger and more weapons.
I think it's also important to look at the situation, and the like almost the facts of each situation, because what Linda was saying, and I agree, is like, even if I feel hurt, or if I feel, there was something done against me, or I feel wronged, maybe I was wronged, does that justify actions? That's, and I do this with my children, and they say, well, he did that to me, and it's true, I saw it, one did the other one, and then the other one retaliates. But is that justified? Is the retaliation justified? Is, the first one that hit him justified because the other one did something else? So it's like, it is this very eye for an eye. I heard this expression the other day. I was like, oh my gosh, that's true. Someone said it's very Old Testament, the way that we're living. And I've never heard that expression before. And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, that feels very, very like, from the past. But we're still having that way of responding, because I don't think we have worked on ourselves as much, maybe. So, with everything said, I also think, just going back to it, I think it's important to look at what's actually happening, and where is the actual damage. Where are the things that we can look at and be like, okay, well, you did this, whether you were feeling a certain way or someone else did something, this is something that was destroyed. And in this case, we're talking about lives. So it's it's very heavy. Yeah.
I don't know. I think maybe Sahaja, you mentioned this, where, you know, we forget, we have a difficult time separating also the person from the actions, right? Excuse me. And just to be able to recognize the human, the friend, the person that you can care for and love for, while at the same time not condoning the behavior, the actions, you know. And you can have like an open, honest, direct, I think, to what you were saying, if we really sought more to understand the other person's perspective, because I'm sure if that we have that open, honest dialogue, we can really understand their perspective. You know, it can make sense. You know, it might be based on different assumptions, but I think like we all have, you know, I fundamentally do believe, maybe this is controversial, everybody's wants to do what's right and believe they're right. And then, but the problem is, you know, using that to justify behavior that I would say probably objectively, we'd say that killing is a bad thing, you know, and you know, it's not, you know, pro-humanity. So all right, ladies, well, I think thank you for, you know, the discussion on this topic. It's very important and you know, weighty topic. I think it's just in general really important to be able to know and learn and how to handle conflict and when you disagree with people in a more human, more human way. All right. So with that, you know, again, if you like this, our content, please like, share, and comment, and take care.
Subscribe to our channel.
Oh, subscribe. All right. I thought I said, okay, subscribe.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.